president, worse than your predecessor. This will be your legacy. This is how you shall be remembered.
So we have a very interesting speech here, which I found particularly interesting, and I wanted to share with you because I like you. But before we start, please click on the button, the like button, so we can push this further. Just this. It's done. Appreciate it. Done. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, this message, Mr. President, is from my township, Botshabelo, and it carries the views of our people about your presidency. We have listened to the President, the Chief Whip of the former liberation movement, and some of the ministers. It seems like everyone is tired. They all look tired and defeated. Yet, these are the very people who want to persuade society that they understand what must be done to grow the economy, create jobs, and eradicate poverty. Mr. President, your 2018 State of the Nation address, in which you cited Masukela's song, Tumamina, to mobilize the resourcefulness of South Africans to volunteer their services to create a better future for all. This Tumamina train is crashing badly, head first, down the cliff. This train has taken a tumble off the cliff into a tangent, sidetracked into a deep, bottomless pit of hell. Your budget vote speech today was another repeat of hollowness, emptiness, and wallowed into nothingness, which has become the hallmark of your presidency. Mr. President, your Tumamina has now become more synonymous to your name and the failed new dawn of reforms, a fight against corruption and restoring the nation's hope during your presidency. With Tumamina, you blasphemously invoke Isaiah's prophetic conversation with God, like your predecessor, who claimed that the ANC will govern until Jesus comes. You crossed the line. How blasphemous. Indeed, you ask to be sent to deliver on your promises of being a trusted servant, instead of taking us to Nineveh. Where are you taking us to, Mr. President? You are choosing to take us to Tarshish. How voters responded to your deceitful and cunning detour in your presidential journey. They punished you and your party for betraying the trust and breaking your promises of a better life. This was clear sign that you asked, you were given, and went your way with your criminal network syndicates. What has your presidency delivered? Collapsed economy, destroyed by ESCOM and load shedding, junk status, corruption, cronyism, violent crimes, abuse of drugs, rising levels of unemployment amongst the youth, high cost of living, chronic poverty amongst the poor, and widening inequalities. More than 12 million people are unemployed. More than 28 million people depend on social grants, not by choice, but because their government has failed them. Violent crimes has become part of our daily lives. Daylight robberies, cash in transit haste, and killing are now woven into the fabric of South Africa. Often credited as a humble leader, Mr. President, too much humility renders a person gullible, indifferent, aloof and divorced from reality, and distant from the suffering and the vulnerable. You will be remembered as worst president, worse than your predecessor. This will be your legacy. This is how you shall be remembered. You had ample opportunities to redeem yourself, but failed. In all cases, you are like a discredited biblical Babylonian figure called Balzarah, who went on a drinking spree, feasting and drinking with the underworld criminal syndicates and drug cartels, with the money looted and laundered by your comrades, associates, and criminals like Vusimuzi Ket Matlala and his types, when the poorest of the poor are dying from hunger. Mr. President, We have lost all the sanctity of a man who can be trusted, of moral high ground and ethical leadership. Your leadership has become tested, weighed, and found wanting. Your legacy will be the privatization of strategic function of state-owned enterprises. You have handed over the core functions of roads construction, ports, rail, and energy to the friends, families, cronies, and even criminal syndicates. That is why a member of the Freedom Front Plus stands here and lectures us about BEE, transformation, and the transfer of wealth from minority whites who benefited from apartheid to the majority of our people. It is not true that you are privatizing Eskom, Transnet, Prasa, Dinel, and other state-owned enterprises because the private sector has got no money. They do not have money. This is a tactic by the bullying DA that supervises and leads the collision between the DA and the ANC that tells the private sector to come and invest without taking any risk because government carry all the risk. That is what your Minister of Finance has said every time he tabled his many budgets. This bubble built on falsehood will blow up one day. It was in these hollowed walls in 2015, faced with scandals after scandal, when your predecessor was described as a constitutional delinquent and a social scum, that you defended him. And you have got the courage and the audacity to remind us of how bad he was, yet you are part of his administration. Why? You and him are birds of the same feather. Jelle, ek moet vir jou sê, as 'n kwessie aan die saak van 'n soort soek soort, aan een perd se prys. President, you want the people of South Africa to believe you are dealing with crime and corruption. Yet, the head of the NPA, Advocate Batoyi, who has now been in office for almost 7 years and should be retiring next year, unless you extend a term of office for another 2 years, just told the nation that NPA is captured by people working to undermine its effort. We wrote to you, President, and said that despite our usual criticism of commissions of inquiry, this case made by Advocate Batoyi was a case in point for you to act and appoint a commission of inquiry, but you did nothing. We do not blame those who now say that you are part of a very criminal syndicate. They are busy investigating because to many South Africans, they cannot see the difference between the criminals and yourselves. Finally, President,
Honorable Matiase, please take your seat.